When you were in the military, do you spend most of your time on ship or on land?
Ship
Ship, we're on ship most of the time.
a lot. Yeah,
Then you were really separated from the family.
oh, well, I had 12 years of sea duty, but sea duty only counts for absences over 30 days. So that doesn't count for the gazillion days I was gone. That was shorter than 30 days, which was a lot. So all the workups that the carriers do, you know, week here, week there, 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, 3 weeks here, 29-day workup where we don't go to 30,
Right. Can you hear me, Augie?
right at 29.
Can you hear me yet?
Retired from the military?
Yeah. But yeah, I was, my was a single parent.
And I often thought about that. I thought about making a career, but I decided against it after going in at 17, got out when I was for my 4 years and
Yeah, I didn't intend to make it a career. I joined enlisted. But I signed up for 6 years because if you signed up for 6 years, then they guaranteed you this advanced electronics school that I wanted to go to. So, at the end of my 6 years, I was hooked. I was just hooked. So I re-enlisted for another 6 years. And then I promoted really quickly. And then, the higher up the food chain you get, it gets harder and harder to let go. And then I applied for a commissioning program and I became an officer. And so like the first half of my career was enlisted and the second half was as an officer. And, I almost retired at 20. I almost retired at 20 and I went to one of the little career workshop things. And, the counselor was like, do you have a degree? I said, I have a bachelor's. And he goes, you need a master's. He goes, if you're gonna get paid what you're worth, you need a master's. I said, well, in what? And he goes, it didn't matter. You just need a master's. He goes, stay in, get your master's. So I did. I stayed in and I got my master's and I retired at 28 and a half. And, but it was really, really hard on my family. It was really hard.
I thought of that, the Navy in particular. Rest of the military forces, you usually get a camp and you can bring your family there and
Yeah. Of course, and that was back before we had cell phones. That was back before we had email.
Steve. So
The only camp I was at, my summer camp for a couple of years after active duty, Indiantown Gap. Summer camp, World War II barracks that they opened up, holy Christ.
Augie, can you hear me?
Can hear you guys just fine.
All right, perfect. Okay, I got it set up. All right. Because of course, teams had to reboot and do something different when I.
Yeah, I
So,
wanted to stay in the
we'll make sure I got it
reserves,
set.
but I got transferred to New Hampshire. And requested, they said the war was winding down in the early 70s, and they said we don't have any need for reservists up here, so they gave me this.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Put my time in.
Well, good for you.
Yeah,
A lot of people didn't.
yeah.
Whether it's 2 years, 4 years, it doesn't matter.
Check.
All right. Let me.
So summer's over, man.
it's hard to believe. Every day comes, it's all downhill.
Give me 1 second.
My son,
I gotta multitask.
No drugs.
1 o'clock.
got married this May. She's a doctor in hospitals, emergency down there. So we decided to find a place to rent for the winter. So we got a house in St. Augustine. So
Nice.
we're going down Monday. We'll
August
stay through, we'll come back in early October and then back down after the holidays and stuff. So pretty town.
Okay, all done.
How are you doing?
I live by the alarms on my clocks, on my phone for when I gotta take the meds, So I am doing better. So the last results were in good form.
There he is. There he is.
Just getting ready to get started. So.
Congratulations on your victory.
All right, so
May not say that.
Was that sign in my yard?
I'm sorry?
Was that sign in my yard? That's what did it.
all right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So welcome. It is 1:06 p.m. We are going to get started and call this meeting to order. This is the Bylaws and Resolutions Advisory Committee meeting. Today is September 12th, 2025. We have a hybrid meeting. There are several of us here in person, and one of our committee members is attending online. We do have quorum, so we have 4 committee members present. Do you all, committee members, consent to the recording of the meeting? Are we still good? Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you. All right, introductions. My name is Laura Pangratz. I'm the chairperson currently for the Bylaws Committee. And I've been a full-time resident for about 3 years, I think. Yeah. Would the rest of my committee introduce themselves, please?
Sure.
Say your name.
Joe Peloso.
Thank
I've been
you.
a permanent resident here for 8 years now and a property owner for 30.
Kit Kaiser, occupies residence for about 11 years now, I guess.
Augie, you're online.
Hi, August Lengy. We've had a prop 2014 and our part-timers. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. There may be a possibility, we will still have quorum even if Augie has to step out for work reasons. So we will still be able to continue on with our meeting if that happens. So we will try and get as much done as we can before he might have to hop off, okay? We do have one excused committee member, and that's Camilla Rogers. We do have one guest. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Bob Hilligus, property owner for 25 years, and been here for 25.
Wonderful, thank you. The agenda is up on the screen and was sent to you, to our committee prior. Does anybody have any questions about that, or is there anything that we need to add to the agenda?
I know.
So hearing no objections, the agenda is approved. I would also like to introduce our board liaison.
Steve Jacobs, board liaison.
I didn't even read my own way I've set up the agenda there. All right, so next thing after the approval of the agenda is to approve the minutes from our July meeting, which were sent out. They are also up on the screen. Was there any corrections that any of our committee members saw that needed to be updated? Okay, all right, so hearing no corrections or objections, the minutes from our July meeting are approved. So Augie, when you get a chance, would you be able to put them in final draft form and attach the tracker document for us, please? Thank you. Now on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comments at this time?
None at this time.
Okay. All right, so next up is the chairperson report, short and sweet. I did attend the, guess I forgot to add there. I attended the in-person, the directors meeting on July 26th. I did also attend in person, the annual meeting in August. I believe that was the 9th, I think. But I forgot to put that on here. I did also email, Linda, in the office to update, the website to add our agenda for this meeting and the approved May minutes. I also submitted all of the meeting dates, that would start in January of 2026 through July for approval. So I'm waiting to hear back if those dates are okay or not. Because our 2025 dates, the September, today's meeting through December, have already been approved. I just went ahead and submitted for the spring. And all of that. So the next thing on my list to do would be to attend the director's meeting on the 27th. Anybody have any questions? Board liaison, do you have anything that you would like to share at this point with us as a report?
Not really. We, board actually had two separate meetings on the same evening. One was to certify the election because there's not a quorum at the annual meeting. And the other one was our organizational meeting. We did, however, do the Pledge of Allegiance twice. At any rate, that's really all that's done. I mean, our first meeting is, I think it's Saturday, I'm saying.
But they kept you as our liaison here, right?
Yes, you guys are stuck with me for the duration. It's true. Yes.
And who's the president?
Huh?
Who's the president?
John Latham. Rick Farr is vice president. Monica continues as our treasurer, and Jeff is the secretary.
Well, we're glad to have you back. All right, so moving on to unfinished business. It's more of an update here because we normally do not meet in August anyway. So since then, some of this is official, just updates from like the July directors meeting and things like that. But M08, which is about the association's manuals, which is a board resolution, received a first reading at the May directors meeting, and an update is received with review from legal counsel. Second reading was completed at the July directors meeting. Okay, so that's really just an update on that. C01 is the committee general policy. We can look at that again, because when we looked at it in July, not all of our committee was present, but we received a request from Doug Parks, an individual, to have our committee review his suggested edits to this resolution. The bylaws committee did review it at our July meeting, but decided that it should be discussed at this September meeting as well, and that the bylaws committee would be the one to forward to the board of directors versus an individual submitting the request to have it looked at with the addition.
On M08, so the second reading is complete. Does that mean the document's done?
Yes. Yes. You want me to pull up the C01 to go over it, now or later?
Just gotta remember where to find
All right, so I do have C01 up. At this point, does anyone object if I suspend Robert's rules so that our guests can participate in discussions? All right, so Robert's rules is suspended until we need to reinstate it. Okay, So C01 had been presented to us, and here are the, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Is that good? Or do you need it bigger? Um, the red lines are the suggested edits from Doug Park, which we had kind of gone over, but we wanted to have more of our committee present to be able to have a full discussion on it. So the first red line is under number 4, the committee assignments, terms, and miscellaneous procedures. Letter B, which is the qualifications for committee members. It says members shall be eligible to vote, and then the red line, and must be the owner of record of Ocean Pines property as defined in section 1.11 of the Ocean Pines Association bylaws.
Shouldn't that say members must be eligible to vote? I mean, the way that reads, it makes it sound like if you're a committee member, you get eligibility to vote. Am I reading that wrong?
Say that again. I mean,
Yeah.
Members shall be eligible to vote. That makes it sound like if you're a member of a committee, that gives you eligibility to vote. As opposed to members must be eligible to vote,
And
which to me sounds more like a requirement to be on the committee. Am I just thinking too much of that, or the word shall versus must?
Shall is a requirement as opposed to may, which
Right.
is
yes,
it's discretionary or suggestion.
It's like we go on to say, and must be the owner of record. Well, if we were going to be consistent, why wouldn't we say, and shall be the owner of record? Because that doesn't sound right. It doesn't make sense. I think the vote should be must.
well, your vote could be suspended.
Even if you're the owner of record.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, it doesn't sound, the wording of it just doesn't sound right to me, but I just may be thinking about it. Putting too much.
Well,
Shall probably is better than this.
just my personal, I'm not sure you need to change it, but I would have a problem if you, just reading this where it says members must be eligible to vote. I mean, it almost sounds like in order to be on the committee, you have to prove you voted, although it deals
if
with
you're eligible,
eligibility.
yeah.
So
Well, isn't that what it means?
What?
That in order to be on a committee, you have
you have
to,
to be eligible to vote, but if it,
Right.
by. I'm just thinking out loud, but I mean, although it does say eligible, it just seems to me if you're saying members must be eligible to vote, you're sort of saying, prove that you voted. I don't,
that's not a big deal for me.
Yeah,
I'm not hard
it-
over on it. It just,
either way,
it just sounds weird that you're going from shall to
they
must.
must, even though they are both in theory saying the exact same thing.
They're both saying that if you're gonna be a
It's
member of
not
the committee,
discretionary.
yeah, that this is a prerequisite.
Yeah.
These are prerequisites to being on
These
this
are your
committee.
well, it does say qualifications. I mean, these are your requirements in order to be considered. I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to bulletize it, qualifications for committee members, eligibility to be voted, and owner of record in accordance with, 1.11, right? So
Be the owner. Yeah.
I'm not hard over on it. It just sounds.
We proposed some alternative language on this in July that is in our meeting minutes. I don't know if we plan to further that recommendation or.
It was in the meet, you put it in the meeting?
July.
It's in our minutes that we just approved,
Okay.
and it's just changed the word shall to must.
At the minutes.
Really?
Oh wait, no, maybe it doesn't. It uses. It reverses the order of things, so it still uses the word shall, but it is a little clearer the way we drafted it. Keith,
Where in
you,
that, Augie, where in the minutes is
It's
it?
right up here. I have it on the screen. I believe the committee discussed 301.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Oh, right, we flipped the order, right, okay.
Must be owner of record, which one property is defined, it shall be owned. Yeah, that sounds better.
That sounds,
And what? Eligible to defined in 1.12 of said bylaws. I think that sounds better.
I think in July, we thought since it's referencing 1.11, it should also reference 1.12 since that governs voter eligibility.
Right.
I like this version of it. This, yeah, I like,
What we have in the
it
minutes.
makes it.
yeah, the version in the minutes, I like
Yeah.
that.
We're consistent.
The next red line is still under 4, but it's letter D. It's request for committee membership. So any member meeting the qualification requirements noted in section 4B is encouraged to send a letter or an application requesting membership on a committee. Application forms are available at the Ocean Pines Administration Office and can be downloaded from the OPA website. Following information should be included in the letter or application: name, address, phone number, committee choice, reason, background, and signature and date of application. Then there was added a letter E. The procedure for committee membership application and appointment is listed in attachment 4. So then because you added a letter E, you had to re-letter the next couple of paragraphs, F and G and H. So down here, it has our committee general policies. That's our annual report format. This is the charging document. That's an attachment. And the committee general policy for meeting minutes, which we do follow. And then here's the attachment 4, which is the actual application process and everything. So I don't think there's anything added there as far as like red lines. So are there any thoughts on adding that? Let me go back up. I'm sorry. But, to the letter E, because we already discussed D. Was that in our minutes also?
No, go back up a little bit,
Which way? Go on.
right there. Seems to me in the past, we have tried to stay away, no, far,
Down.
paragraph D. That we've tried to stay away from getting too specific about section 4B kind of stuff, because
Any changes,
any changes we make to the document in the future, I mean, they just become administrative changes that then essentially invalidate that paragraph. But do we, instead of noted in section 4B above, say, as noted in the qualifications for committee members, as noted above, as noted previously? We want to say something more generic other than 4B, or does it matter?
Like, where'd my screen go?
I just know that in other areas, other documents, we tried to stay away from specific paragraph numbers because it just started getting, you started having to change documents simply because,
I remember that when we did the rewrite,
yeah,
that was one of the concerns, 'cause
then you had to go find every place else and every other document.
Also referred to
Said
it
that.
because when you add to it, you move.
So is that saying,
After something like any member meeting the qualification requirements as previously noted is encouraged to send a letter or an application or something like that.
What I should say, as, any member meeting the qualifications, in this resolution.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
did you get that wording, Augie?
This,
meeting the
delete
qual-
noted in section 4B.
yeah, any member meeting the qualification requirements of this resolution is encouraged to send a letter or an application. Yeah,
Perfect example is down below where you just changed the
Yeah.
whole series. of
Got
them.
Yeah.
One above referred to it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. What it's worth.
it's worth.
It is.
No vote.
All right, so then does that mean we need to, that we agree with adding E, or
No,
is that even,
I'm okay with you.
or is it fine the way it's been listed there? Because it does list
I don't
attachment
know.
4, which does happen to be the application. but-
Yeah, that's, we've cited sections before.
Right.
Just when you get down to the paragraph numbering is when it starts getting replaced.
Generally, the sections don't change. Paragraphs do.
Correct,
Mhm.
correct.
Is there anything else that needs to be, any other opinions, thoughts, suggestions for this?
That's,
Because I
he
guess.
didn't literally want 24, right?
What, say it
He
again?
didn't literally want 24, right?
He put it in that way, so I don't know,
I mean, he
if
was,
he meant to.
I'm at 25 now, so it would have to be. Correct the date.
But it would be the effective date of,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. Be 2025
Is this a
now.
board resolution or is this is a board resolution?
Now, my question would be,
Yeah, that's a board resolution, so who presents that to the board?
so my question would be then, do we write up the charging document that says we received suggested edits? Do we mention that there's an individual that had looked at this? Because that individual is not technically part of our committee. And it's not something that was discussed at any committee that they're on, so to speak. So it was just an individual approaching us to review this, to make sure there were no,
and he's not on the board.
right, correct.
Hmm.
That's why in our minutes, from July, we had said, if it goes forward to the board, it should be probably presented, submitted, by a committee versus just an individual.
I don't think you need a charging document to identify the edits. That would be included in the resolution when the board, it's first reading. I mean, if someone's questioned it, I could explain it during the discussion. I don't think there's gonna be any question that'll be raised. I mean, when we looked at them the other day, or the other month, I think we sort of had a general agreement, they were pro forma and saying. So if the board, if the committee approves this version, we go to first reading and then second. It's sort of standard procedure.
So we can still follow the same.
But without the charging document, how does this get before the board?
On the first reading motion.
Well, I understand that, but how does it get to
So we
first
would
reading?
ask Steve to approach.
I just.
So you would just
Yeah, I
take
just
it.
file it, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is, consistent with the, what we do with all of these board resolutions in the charging document. I'm sorry. This. Whatever else. Yeah, so I mean, the process is not gonna change. The fact that someone made a particular set of recommendations, in the end, it's this committee's decision. I don't see that there's any need, and I certainly have not, over the last several years, gone through to a charging document. I tried that originally,
Right.
way back when, and charging document went up to the board, nothing happened.
Right.
And so we sort of agreed that we'll just do first reading, second reading. So I think we're fine.
I'm okay with that. Is the committee okay with following that?
Question then is, who does the red line? Because it's coming from this committee. Normally, this committee doesn't get into any red lines except for its own MO.
Well, the red line version is the version recommended by the committee showing the changes that committee feels are appropriate. Doesn't make a difference who the author is. If the committee approves the resolution with suggested changes, suggested changes are what's in the red line version. So the fact that, Doug advanced this as a series of ideas, once this committee takes this under consideration and approves a document, the fact that Doug recommended it is really irrelevant.
Right.
So-
I understand that.
So what I would need to go forward is I would need a red line version and a, lack of a better term, black ink version showing how the resolution would read once approved. So the board would approve these changes. Now, if the board wants to provide other changes, that's fine, but then the board has to undergo that process and
Right, now,
we would amend it and then change the, again, for lack of a better term, black ink version
Right.
to reflect those changes. All the committee has to do is proffer the red line version, which is the resolution as originally written, plus the changes recommended, and a clean version, if you will, reflecting those changes. That's really all we need to do. Everything else after that, we sink or swim on whatever I say to the board.
the point that I was trying to make, Steve,
Yeah.
is with the exception of board resolutions, any committee that recommends a change to their resolution,
Mhm.
it's up to them to
Yes.
update the red line.
Yeah, the C
This
version,
is unique because it's a board resolution and this committee agreed to help the board rewrite
Yeah.
resolutions as appropriate.
yeah,
based
I mean,
on-
the C resolutions, except for our committee resolution,
Right,
it's incumbent upon the committee to recommend changes. We have to goose the committees to get their resolutions up,
right.
but that's all we have to do.
All right, so my question then would be,
It's gonna generate the red line. That's the
right,
question.
because the
If
only
the, if the
thing
committee
I do,
agrees.
I do not, I have to go back and double check that, my email from Doug, but I think he only sent the PDF version. That he
He
did
sent the
already, so I
PDF
don't
version.
know.
It's, I can't change it. You need to,
Augie,
Hi,
hi, a question for you. Can you forward to me as a Word document, because I can't always print them out, as a Word document, a red line version and a clean version? If the board approves this? Yeah, I'm sorry, if the committee approves this?
Oh, wait, he did send me he did send me a Word document.
or you need that Word doc.
Yeah, but we've already changed his language.
Right, but
So
what I'm saying,
I need whatever the committee, again, what Doug proffered earlier on, once the committee takes this under advisement is not important. What's important is I need a red line version of what this committee is approving, and I need a clean version of what this committee is approving.
well, what I'm saying is since Doug did send it in Word, I can either send that, if I didn't send it already, to Augie, so that he can update the red lines that
the changes
we
we
have
want.
just changed it to.
That's
But
fine.
that's what I was looking at, because I change everything to PDFs for this to make it easier to share, but I wasn't sure if I had the Word document.
I jumped in, but I think you need to put Robert's rules back and make a decision whether you're gonna
Right.
agree with it or not, then you can talk about the process. But if you don't agree with it, the process doesn't mean anything.
Well, I feel better knowing that I do have a Word document of that, so that we can do the update on the red line ourselves.
If you send me the Word document and if we vote on it, I can fix it up so it reflects.
Right, and then I would need a black ink version also with the changes that the committee approved.
Yep.
Okay, we're good.
All right, so we will reinstate Robert's rules so that we can officially vote on this. So let me make sure I got this right. We are going to update the red line version that we received with some edits of our own from this committee. We will also then provide, so we'll be providing a new red line version plus the clean black ink version to our board liaison, who will then present it to the rest of the board of directors for consideration. Does that sound like an appropriate? Did I cover everything that we needed to put in there? All right. So do I have a second on that motion? Keith will second it. So all in favor, committee member wise, if please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes. We will get those updated presentations to our liaison then, okay? Thank you. All right, so C01 is done. That is all I had under unfinished business. Now, we can suspend, I couldn't think of the word that I wanted, suspend Robert's rules again now, and move on to the new business. So the first thing before we get into more detailed discussion is I wanted to take a moment to have a discussion of the intent from our committee members with terms expiring in September and October. Keith's term is ending at the end of this month, so technically this is his last meeting with us. And I brought snacks for you. Keith, would you like to state if you were going to, or would you like me to share what you shared with me, that whether or not you wanted to seek an extra one-year term, or if you have now, as of now, you will have completed 6 full years, all 3 terms, being on the bylaws committee.
At this time, I will not be seeking an extension.
Okay, thank you. Well, I will say on behalf of myself, and I'm sure the rest of the committee would agree, you have been an absolute great asset to this committee. This committee would not be where it is today without your insight and support, because I know I couldn't have done it by myself or anything like that. So just know that you have been appreciated, and you are welcome to join us at any other meetings and be a guest if you would like. I'll even still bring the snacks, but so just keep that in mind. And then and we'll have a part 2 discussion in a second. But Augie, I wanted to give you an opportunity. His term is expiring the middle of October. So I discussed with him. Augie, would you like to share if you are seeking a second term?
I don't know what term it is, but I applied to do it for another year, right?
The second term is 2 years.
Oh, boy. All right.
But just keep in mind, if life happens and you need to step away, it's okay. But the fact that you're willing to at least do 1 year with us, another year, that will be great. Okay?
Yep.
Is that okay with you?
Yes, it's okay.
And he did forward me a signed application. I've signed it. I will, at the end of the meeting, pass it on to our board liaison for his signature, and then we will leave it so that hopefully it could be added as one of the appointments at the September directors meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? Is that, and then we will have an opening. But based, we're gonna steer the direction this way for a minute first. Since being part of the committee, you have taken over when Bob was termed out on his committee. You have been in charge of keeping our
Tracker.
governance tracker up to date and everything like that. Are you able to transition that to one of our other
Yep.
committee members? Joe, would you be interested in being that person? You know,
Learn a little bit.
I mean, if Keith can show you how he go, you know, what he does to go in to update it and all of that. Monthly, we just need to make sure it's, you know, we've got the dates of what needs to be reviewed, things like that. So it's not a constant update kind of thing, but we do need somebody to be
I'll
willing.
be happy to do it remotely for the next few months though. That'll work out okay, just,
Okay,
but I'll be happy to do it.
all right, perfect. So I will,
Do you have Microsoft Excel?
Yes.
I will let you two work the transition part out. Okay, is that okay with you?
It's only 4 weeks of boot camp, don't worry.
So thank you, Joe.
Give me your email address.
Yep.
So now, one of the things that, since Keith, it has completed all 3 terms, his 6 school years, and at this time does not want to extend it, we will have a vacancy on our committee. At this time, I have received, an application of intent from our guest Bob here, who is a former committee member, who is willing to come back on, which will benefit and help us when it comes to making quorum and voting and all of that. Does not mean that, just as I said to Augie, does not mean that even though we're submitting for a first term again, does not mean he has to do all 3 years. What I would like to do is to ask Linda and the marketing team, whoever puts out which vacancies, which committees have vacancies, I would like them to still go ahead and put that out so that maybe we can let, you know, another lawyer or somebody else willing to come in because, you know, as some of us are going to be transitioning, we still need new qualified people in here. And if that happens, you know, Bob is more than willing to go back to guest status if he, if that would help. But since we've struggled this past 6 months or so, it's been the first time we haven't always made quorum for some of our meetings, you know? And I don't want to see us get stuck in that position where we're trying to have a meeting and then we don't have quorum and can't conduct business, right? So, and Bob has been attending faithfully, so it would be helpful if we can make him official again. Bob, do you have anything you want to add?
Only the fact that I'm 87, so if you add 6 years to it, I don't know if I'm gonna be around that long.
I would not have guessed you
There
would have.
is an end
Would not have guessed.
after our fourth frame Joe Reynolds and.
Look great.
and Dutch. Dutch just has passed away too.
It's not,
Oh, my goodness, so, well, we will take you as long as you're
But I'm
willing.
certainly willing to help.
we won't put it in school.
Yes,
We need to talk with all. After this.
okay, we can stop the recording, get him to stay on and stop the
That would
recording
be important.
so that he can, unless he has to sneak out, okay, and then we can do it a different way.
Sure.
All right, so Joe's willing to do the tracker. I've got 2 applications to submit, so we're good to go there. All right. Any other thoughts on that? And moving on then, the other topic, that we really haven't had a chance to go over, and you guys can tell me which one you want to tackle first. B01 or the ARC document. I think the ARC document is probably going to come up first in discussions, with the board of directors. The ARC document, as a refresher, was presented for a first reading back at the June directors meeting. At that time, the ARC liaison, Elaine Brady, had stated that the second reading would not happen until at least September. I don't know if that's still the
I
plan.
don't think it will.
Okay, all right.
And I would suggest we can put that off.
Okay, so we can still table that one for
I-
discussion.
I think,
Okay. Does anybody have any, while Keith's here, does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think Augie did a fantastic job in recapping all the information that I sent to the board, that you sent to the board, and what we discussed at the last meeting.
Mhm.
Augie, I don't know how you did it, but it's fabulous.
Yeah, I agree. Good job.
That's very, very appreciated, yeah. So, well, we can hold all of that. Does anybody feel that we need to, if guidance from our liaison says to, that we probably can put this off to the October meeting? Is that what we want to do today?
Question I would have is for Steve, is a document that Augie put together that's a pretty good recap. Is that something that you could at least share with Elaine in advance so she knows? I mean, it's going to require legal review.
Procedurally, my thought would be if this committee approves this document, the committee should forward it to Elaine and the other members of the board. There's nothing for me to do as far as that goes.
I think the recap is good. And I think as much advanced information as you can get to the board and get the Bruce Bright to be able to look at it, because I think it crosses a couple issues. In my personal opinion, and from what I've been able to read, and the Architect Review Committee is an extension of the original documents of restriction. And I can't find any place in there anywhere that they can add things to it that aren't in the Declaration of Restrictions without getting the owners to vote on them.
My understanding was that there was a email back and forth when I submitted my input as an individual, that Bruce was looking at this stuff. And that there was gonna be some sort of like set aside meeting where interested parties were gonna get together and kind of talk through some of the things, and because he had concerns about some of it and some language he wanted to talk about. And did that meeting ever happen?
I don't know. Last communication that went out was actually, I guess I don't, Elaine indicated that they were still working on it. And ARC was still dealing with some of these issues. And the question was, did the meeting that was supposed to take place with the realtors in the area, their sort of representative, did that ever take place? To the best of my knowledge, I have not seen a reply to that question. My understanding was at one point, there was even a discussion about having some sort of town hall type meeting to go through
I know,
this.
I think I suggested.
And that I'm positive has not happened. Now, whether or not it's going to happen, that I don't know. But
Has there been any additional feedback from Bruce since?
I have not seen any, but that it may be that he's working with the committee and Elaine to at least try to finalize some documents. My recollection is that there was, and I don't remember where I saw it, to be honest with you, so it could have been an email, could have been in a private conversation, just people tossing things back and forth. My recollection was that there were some parts in the package that Art was proposing that Bruce felt would be problematic, that he needed to review, but I have not seen anything from him or anything that suggests that he has, completed that review. So that's why I'm pretty sure,
It's not.
based upon what I've seen, floating around among the board members, that this is not gonna come up in September. And frankly, I think Elaine was fairly candid, like we said,
Mhm,
back in July,
mhm.
when the first reading, that the earliest it would come up in September.
Right.
Didn't mean it was gonna come up. in
Right, exactly.
So I think they feel they're comfortable, should still try to work some things out. But I can only tell you that's my guess. I have not seen anything that suggests where they are in the process.
But the red lines do go before the board, right?
Well,
Board
again,
votes- board votes on it or no?
what should happen, I believe
Since this, it's not a resolution, so I'm not.
Right, but we did actually, last year or maybe at the end of the year before, I can't quite remember. We did there was a fairly major revision of the art guidelines that the board went through. I would, in fact, I thought you had one,
That was
you
April
identified one
24th.
issue with some antiquated language dealing with where people can resign or something. Anyway, so, yeah, I mean, they would have to provide a red line so that everyone can identify this is the section, and the first reading had that. So I would suspect that when we get ready for in-depth consideration, that's what would happen again. But I guess what I would say to you is, other than one email,
Right.
since July, there just has not been anything
I think
bouncing
she
around the
was-
board
I think she
member, among the
presented
board
it.
members saying this is ready to
Yeah,
go.
I think she presented it at the June meeting.
June,
Because
okay.
she was not gonna be at July.
Okay, and then no
Then-
meeting in
and
August.
then- Right, no meeting in August, so that the earliest it would have come back up would have been September, but like you said, that was just the possible earliest one. Because she was not gonna be at the July directors meeting, so I think because there's been enough discussion, you're probably right that we can probably move this to our October meeting, for further, review.
And if I could just add, if that were to change for any reason, the committee is free to meet in, quickly. And if they want to approve this as a, go forward, we should. I think Bob is sort of on the right thought that it would, to the extent Art and Bruce would take this under consideration, and I have no doubt that they would, that it might be better to get it to them earlier rather than later. But by the same token, we don't know what changes they're proposing. So you're, to some degree, sort of piling one on top of the other. So I mean, whatever the committee decides, it's fine. I have nothing to do with this. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad.
I understand.
But I have no role to play, other than when it comes before the board, I have to decide what to do as a board member. But that's why I'm trying to be real careful. As best as I can tell right now, this is not going to come up with the September board.
My only reason for mentioning sharing this early with the board is there may be more information in here that Bruce hasn't looked at, and it gives him the opportunity while he's looking at it to look at this as well. If the board gives it to him.
I'll give you two responses to that.
Go ahead.
One is, you may well be right. Second one is, I cannot believe, having talked to him and seen him work and all, that Bruce would not be aware of some of the issues that are raised in this. I mean, he is a very good attorney. And so both of those statements could be true, but I'm less concerned about the second one than I am about the first one.
I will say that in the email chain that I was a part of, I think all of these things, even yours, and I'm not sure how it got into the email chain, maybe because it was submitted separately, but I'm almost positive after reading through what Augie put together, that all of those topics were in that email chain.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. I got
Yeah,
acknowledgement from.
it basically was-
I sent.
I sent it to the board and then, the board sent it to Bruce and then Bruce responded to me directly. And then we just kind of went back and forth and somehow your stuff got folded into that and became a part of the conversation. And I wasn't specifically addressing your stuff, but somebody else on the email chain was, but I'm almost positive that all those subjects were a part of that back and forth. And I don't think there was any decisions made about any of it, other than, we need to work through this, or we need to talk about it, or we need to, look at it. I would just say, just in general, that this document bothers me. And I keep going back to the days of hearing Jim talk about this document. That
Which document?
the ARC guidelines.
Okay.
That this document, more than any other document we have, affects the day-to-day lives of the members of this community, yet it is, from a control standpoint, is the most loosey-goosey.
Mhm.
And it seems to be way too easy to change, way too easy to update, way too easy to add stuff to.
It's very subjective at times.
And, right, and subjective, and there was language in here that was just, that was too loose, and, some might say, well, it's not that big a deal, they're a reasonable person. Yeah, but the problem is a reasonable person depends on the person who's enforcing it at the time. So then you either have to get really, really detailed, or you have to get really, really general, or you have to take it out, one of the two. And so I don't know. I don't know about this document. It almost seems to me like it needs to be converted into like an amendment to the bylaws. I just think that the membership should have more input into what goes into that thing. But, and one of the things Bruce did say, and I agree with him, you can't have the membership voting on everything. I agree with that. You'd never get anything done. So I don't know what the solution is for it.
However, like you said, this document is something that really does directly affect all of us.
Yeah, it almost just seems to me like we need, maybe in the bylaws, just a couple of lines that say, this is what it would take to update this document. And we will not do these kinds of things, but we will consider these kinds of things. Just some sort of guidelines, some sort of firewall to put around it, so it just doesn't keep growing and growing
Because that's
and
part of the
growing.
issue. Every time a committee, any committee changes the dynamics of the people that are on that committee for that time, they all have their own perspectives on it. And that in particular, that one tends to be more fluctuating and wants to change every time there's a new group of people on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think if there was a better guidance on what we can change, what they could change, what they can suggest, all that kind of stuff, that might help even with a change in who's on the committee each time.
Because to Bob's point, the DRs are a foundational document that in the hierarchy are more, they have precedent, yes, over this document.
Right.
And there's problematic language in the DRs. Now, we just kind of choose to ignore it because we don't really use the DRs as a daily function, a daily document that we reference and use all the time, because we're always using the ARC guidelines. But there has to be some sort of tether between these two documents so that the ARC guidelines doesn't get too far away. I think this is, to Bob's point, from the original DRs.
Yeah, the problem that I see is the DRs or the ARC guidelines are like what the police department is given to enforce the law. And it's how they interpret it. So it should be very clear as to what speeding is, what this is, what, you know, because there are the policemen, and once they write it up and you get that letter in the mail, you're subject to a lot of things. You can go to court over that.
Yeah,
So it should be
Exactly,
very clear,
exactly.
because it could be an honest mistake that's made, but it's not cleared up, and you can't stop it. It affects every owner in Ocean Farms.
it seems to me, I mean, I went through and I read my section DRs, and there's stuff in there that's just ridiculous that no reasonable person would agree to today. You know, like giving your neighbor first right of purchasing your home.
Yeah.
You know, there's stuff in there that clearly is not something that the majority of the membership would support today. But
Yeah.
each individual DR has to be changed individually. Go ahead, Augie.
Sorry, guys, I need to drop off. I'm very sorry. I'm glad you guys still have quorum, and I'll read through the rest of the recording after we're done, so I can see what else was discussed and update the draft minutes.
Okay, all right, we'll reach out to you afterwards, all right? Good luck. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Take care, Augie.
Um,
I mean, that's not for here today. I'm just.
DRs too, I think is problematic in the sense that because, and I'm not sure, maybe I just haven't missed it or I don't have the brain, like Jim did and, you know, all these folks that have the full history, and can memorize all of this stuff. But because the fact that DRs have to be individually, each section has to vote to change them, who is the body that would initiate an endeavor like that and say, you know, sections, and you know how we have it labeled, you know, let's just say sections 1 through 5 will be need to form committees of their own, you know, like who would help us do
Yeah.
that? Because I just feel like it's not one set of DRs.
Well, so, I mean,
That's
a couple of things. I mean, first of all, I believe, I don't remember where I saw it, but there is a process by which each individual section's DRs can be amended by, it requires a vote of the residents of the appropriate, or the legal residents, or whatever you want to use, qualified residents of that area. So, I mean, there's a process for that to take place. I don't disagree with a lot of what's being said here. Look, fact of the matter is that what people are, I think the way it's viewed is that the art guidelines are in effect the, leaves on the tree. The tree is the DR, and the art guidelines are the leaves on the tree. In other words, that is the line that people will say that to suggest that DRs are in some fashion antiquated, where there's things in the art guidelines that don't make any sense. I concede all of that. But I don't know that it's something that this committee can tackle, and B, if you'd be in worse shape if you just said, well, let's do away with the art guidelines and just live with what's in the DRs. DRs are so broadly written, right, that they're almost meaningless. And so the art guidelines are meant to say, this is what we mean pursuant to what is in the DRs. In a community this large, I don't know that now, the bottom line issue out of all of this, frankly, is that we're an HOA. We're not a municipality. Municipalities don't have this issue. They have zoning requirements, but that's it. But as an HOA, we're in a different bag of rules or whatever you want to say. So, I mean, this is the hand we've all been dealt, I think. So,
It's more, for me, I agree with everything you're saying. It's more philosophical in that.
Yeah.
It's a whole argument like with the signs, the political signs. The state of Maryland says you shall not do this. Okay, well, we can't do that. But we're gonna choose to do that for our HOA elections. So the state says you can't do that for state or federal elections. And it kind of makes sense why. It's First Amendment issue, all that. But for whatever reason, we think it's a smart idea to do it to ourselves when it comes to our local elections. And that makes no sense to me. why would we pick a fight with ourselves over something that the state and federal government has already made illegal? And, you know, under a reasonable man theory, and, you know, Bruce commented, he goes, you're perfectly within your legal right to do it. I'm not asking if it's legal, I'm asking if it's makes sense that we put a, here, this is self-governance, right? We're trying to self-govern ourselves. Why would we put a rule on ourselves like that? Totally unnecessary. And it's, you know, depending on the timing of elections, you know, next week we could have 1,000 signs on our front yard and nobody can do anything about it. But the week after that, we can only have one. You know, it just, things like that just, and it's also the phenomena, and there's probably a name out there for it somewhere, of how regulations only grow.
Right.
They never shrink.
Yeah.
Nobody ever goes back and pulls out the old stuff,
Yeah.
pulls out the stuff, you know, you can't have a cow on Main Street after midnight laws, you know, that kind of stuff. And so that's the kind of thing I'm thinking of, as I wish we had almost some sort of constitution that said that you gotta, you know, if you're gonna add stuff, you gotta get rid of stuff, find something to get rid of. You know, we're not gonna do things that are inconsistent with state or federal law, even if we legally can, just because we can do it.
Doesn't mean we should.
Yeah, so,
Go
and there's stuff in the DRs that specifically outlaw certain behaviors and activities.
ahead.
And then we repeat that language in the ARC guidelines, and then we don't enforce it. But then we'll enforce this other stuff. I mean, it just seems like we're setting ourselves up for a lawsuit. It'll happen someday. Something's gonna happen. We'll get dragged into court.
It's the old story. You don't have a problem until you have a
Until you have
problem.
a problem. That's
So
right.
try to avoid them where you can.
Lord.
Are we still?
Yeah, we're still, but it dropped.
System, I've had enough.
Okay,
That's mine, okay. I think it reset all my settings on there. Okay, so I'm back on.
So we're not streaming anymore.
We are, we should be.
Yeah.
Let me see if I.
Augie needs it to be
Yeah,
able
because
to
Augie
finish
had
his
to
meeting.
leave, but so let me
Minutes.
see if I can.
Don't cut him short.
For whatever reason. It's not, here it is, okay. All right,
So we don't need to vote on whether or not we hold off on the ARC stuff until well, you guys hold off on the ARC stuff until the next month.
are you fine, since technically, there's stuff in there from you as a committee member, you know, input in there, if we postpone it till the October meeting?
Yeah, I'm fine.
You're-
I'm fine with that.
all right, so we moved the ARC discussion to October. Let me see,
Did we talk about B1?
that's when, there we go.
No, that's next. That's your open.
Yeah.
I can make that a little bit bigger.
Did you guys come up with redlines for it, or
The what, say it again?
did you guys come up with redlines for it?
No,
Because my last notes were that we forwarded it to the board with no recommended changes.
I think we did. I think this was originally brought up on one of our meetings. We didn't have quorum, so we did not fully do anything on it.
Well, 5/9/25,
Was that our main meeting?
yeah, 5/9/25, we voted to forward it to the board for consideration with no recommended changes.
Mhm.
That's why I was asking if you, since then, have you found something?
No. Here's our main meeting notes.
The interesting one is on our control document. If you look at the attachment to it, attachment under B, it says all resolutions assigned to the board of directors or the various departments within Ocean Pines shall be reviewed annually whenever a change is required. Do we have our control document with annual dates on all of the board resolutions?
We do.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yep.
That was my own notes I made when I was reading the material with this and after the meeting.
So yes, in our May meetings, it says the committee
That was-
discussed
that
B
was here
01,
one time. Thought we did.
which was due for review by the committee in April of 2025. The committee reviewed B01 and discussed its provisions, concluding that they worked well. The committee discussed when council would be consulted when changes to resolutions were proposed, which is specifically addressed in this existing resolution. So the committee approved the resolution for submission to the board without changes. So there was no quote red lines to the way I'm reading that, remembering that to change anything. So I guess we can decide to just have to forward it to our liaison for a presentation for a first reading. And if we treated it like those other ones, that there really is no changes, he could make the motion to just approve it then and not need a second reading.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
It's a
that
matter
would be
of
my intent.
the board saying they reviewed it, see no need for changes, period.
So, so let's just reinstate Robert's rules for a second. Because Keith, Joe, and I still make a quorum for committee. Are we still in agreement that, our committee is not recommending any changes to B01 at this time and can forward it on as it is to our liaison so that he can present it to the directors for consideration for a review, whether it's a first reading or a motion to accept it because there's no changes recommended. How do we feel about that? And second for that?
I'll second
All right, so all in favor, say aye.
it.
Okay. All right, so then, I can forward this, to you, Steve, and let, if you don't have it, because I would have sent it out with the package that, I did the other day.
Yeah, just,
It's
you can just
01.
email it to me. That'd be fine.
Okay.
As long as I can print it out, it'll be fine.
Well, that covers all of the new business at this time. The only thing left would be the governance, document to review. Is there anything coming up in the next couple of months now?
So I know I missed a couple of meetings, so this, I don't think this thing is accurate, so I got some things to go through here. So we just discussed B01. According to this, B02 was due in May, and at our 5/9 meeting, we agreed to discuss it at the next meeting, which would have been in June. So was B02 discussed in June?
That one was the one we didn't have. Because we only have minutes for May and June. And we couldn't. We might not have had quorum for March. We'll have to look. What's on the website. If it's not on the website, we didn't have quorum that month. Because then, you know. So,
And I have the same thing down for B05 and B06, which are
Yeah.
board resolutions for conflicts of interest and indemnification policy. I don't know what that is. One of these, I want to say it was B02, Cammy said she would take home and go through and come back with suggestions on, and she,
so I might need to tell me again so that we can
so
have it on the recording. plus-
B02, B05 and B06
Okay.
needed to be determined by this committee if they wanted to suggest any changes to the board.
Okay, so, but she had volunteered.
And I want to say it was B02 that she volunteered to,
Give a one.
as a prior board member, that she said she would take it home and go through it and come back with suggested changes. The board already determined B04 was good as is. The board already determined the B07 was good as is. So, and so now also B03, meetings of association members, is overdue. I'm guessing that that'll be moved to the next
Yeah,
C4 meeting. Okay.
Oh, so us, our resolution is October 25, so that's us, right? C04.
without dumping on you. You're in probably the best position on the board resolutions to see if you think there even is a need for change.
So I could send that.
Since you happen to be a member of the board.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
Just carry this before the October week.
I mean, I think technically the board should at least be consulted. Yeah, I did receive one email, as all the board members did, on B02, which deals with allowing members of the association to participate electronically in person board meetings. But that really only applies to the public comments section of the agenda, because no member of the public participates in anything else. If I had to guess, my guess would be the board would not be likely to approve that change. But it's, I mean, the suggestion was made, so.
Wasn't that a big topic come up like last year or something?
Yeah, it was,
Another attendance.
and the notion was that we had amended the language as it applied to association meetings, so that members could participate electronically, they would be counted as part of the quorum, and they could vote. But the prerequisite to that was that the general manager had to certify to the board that we had the technological capability to allow them to do that without allowing people to get into our process who don't belong there. So I mean, that's been done in the last 2 meetings. But in fairness, board meetings are different than association meetings. When I'm trying to remember when this took place. I think after I was elected the first time, we had the new members of the board had an orientation with then council, and he made the point quite strongly that board meetings are for the board to do their work. They're not necessarily meant to be open to the public. I mean, they can view it, but there's no public participation per se. It's the board's got to do their work. And so that's why there's 2 separate resolutions, I assume. Yeah, I mean, that issue's come up before. And, some people take the point of view that if it's important enough for you to make a public comment, you should be there. Other people think the opposite point of view, which is they want to make a public comment, you ought to let them make the public comment. What difference does it make whether they're in person or they do it electronically? Okay. But if you ask me to guess, my guess is the board's not going to open it up, but that'd be just my guess.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I do think allowing some public comments virtually would be appropriate, especially if you're in a meeting. Just for those who want to be active but can't physically get there in person, their only ways to communicate then would be to send an email to all the directors. They wouldn't be able to make a public comment. If it's health reasons, or maybe they don't drive, or whatever, that eliminates them from being in person to make a public comment. Go ahead, Keith.
So the next one is M07, bulkhead waterway maintenance. So back the last time it was updated was 5/9/25. The comment, it was due May 25, and you were gonna send an email to the C12 chair reminding them about this resolution. So did we get any feedback from them? Because I want to say the last time this came due, we didn't hear from them and we ended up just changing the date.
Right.
Yeah, and I think
The
that's,
date, 2 years out.
And if nobody's ever gonna respond on this resolution, then I think that needs to be looked at.
Which one is that?
Bulkhead and waterway maintenance.
Yeah,
And 07.
Yeah, the committee should at least respond saying there's no need for a change, but if they don't respond after the second notice, our internal procedures are that we change the date.
And I think that's what happened last
and I
time.
think, yeah.
And so, did they respond?
Trying to remember because it's been a while.
Who's the chair of that? Do I know? Used to be John Hinton, right?
I think John Chair of the other guy, he may have been chair.
He was.
He's the liaison now.
He was last year.
Oh, he's the liaison?
He's the liaison. He did what I did, he kept the committee.
Well, technically, it's past the 90 days. I mean, according to our
Oh,
procedures, we can
so-
just change the date on it, but.
I would, if we go to the committee chair
My
As we
notes
said,
shows
and they
that,
don't respond, they can change it anytime they want to change it. So if they haven't changed it, and the or the preparation for the annual report says that they're supposed to review it at that time.
right,
So they've had,
It's a 15-year-old document. I cannot imagine that there's not something in it unless it's just super, super general.
well,
That,
that one gets to be very tricky because you're talking about dredging, you're talking about things.
well, that's what it was. And I remember John actually came here and briefed us that one day and he was talking about some of
And it's a
the
pro-
issues.
Because you need the Maryland Department of Environment, there's a whole bunch of regulations you need, and I remember most of it from when I was on the Marina.
And they were struggling to,
You're not gonna get,
yeah. And so I think what happened last time when they said, well, we're struggling, but we technically don't have any changes yet because, we haven't gotten approval for the things we want, so just leave it the way it is. And we just left it the way it is. So I guess the question would be, are they continuing to work those issues? Have they made any progress? And do they want anything changed in this?
I think the issue probably, as to the bulkheads, I don't think that's an issue. I mean, we're on a
that's not.
a schedule to replace bulkheads, over their
I
lifespan.
want to say the issue was
It's the waterways, because
Yeah,
it's the
it's
dredging
waterway dredging.
canals, and the issue was the depth, and
Yes.
it's not just Merit, by the way, it's also Army Corps of Engineers. We also have a say in this, in addition to the state of Maryland, and my guess is probably Coast Guard and EPA may as well, I have no
The
idea.
Coast Guard's involved.
Yeah, and so, if I can make a suggestion to who's ever gonna be doing the tracker, you should note, email from a bylaws committee to chair of bylaws to, Marines, we call them, committee, no response, second one sent, no response. Just put the notes in the tracker and leave it at that.
And leave the notes there permanently for that year, and then if it happens the next year, just change the notes, but leave them there permanent.
Yeah.
The date was changed because we didn't get an answer.
to my notes, I'm pretty sure she did respond, sounded a little bit like she wasn't, sure about what to do I think she was new as the chairperson, but they did get back and just say there were no changes, so I think we're okay to update it.
What was the date of that email for no changes? Do you have that?
I think it was in May or June. I have it right in front of me.
Would it be the May meeting date?
But,
Right
I
after,
do have
would have been the May meeting date then.
so if we discussed it at the May meeting, I probably emailed her after that, so.
Okay, so I'll just put it in
I'm pretty
there.
sure.
That C12.
But then my notes
In
say,
May, just use the month and the year, it's good enough.
Yeah, okay.
because my notes say that, there were no changes.
Well, then that's all that's left in here.
So who do I,
I'm gonna update this, by the way. So when I pass it over to you, it's updated as of today.
then
And I will also send this out to
the directors.
the directors like I normally, I'll do all that stuff, because
Okay.
I think we're not done with it.
Because you're technically still a committee member till like the 25th or something, 28th, I
Yes,
think.
so I'll
You
continue
know,
to do
so
those things.
I'm going to use him as long as we can, right?
Yes.
We need good instructions.
All right, so we went over that. So date of.
He's
our
always
next
available for
meeting.
consultation.
That's right, I am.
So date of the next meeting is
Says October
October
10th.
10th.
If you can find money in your budget, you can hire Keith as a consultant after he's gone.
There you go.
I'm not gonna be able to.
So the 10th, always the second Friday.
I said, I'm not gonna be able to make that meeting. I'll be driving to Philadelphia airport, flight.
Where are you going this time?
We're going to government, Ireland, see my non-relatives.
So,
That's cool.
10th.
Friday night flight.
Show. Yes, we have always met on the second Friday of every month from 1 to 3 p.m. since I've been on the committee. Keith and Bob can probably say if it had been that time frame prior to that, I came on in the during the pandemic. When we started out, just all of us meeting virtually, but I will send out another email then to find out if Camilla will be available. By then, hopefully, if we're presenting Augie's second term, well, his doesn't end till like the 15th of October.
Yeah.
And then Bob's new one, both of them would still be committee members, so as long as I've got 3 out of the 5, we can have quorum. And conduct business and stuff. But if for some reason we don't get at least 3 of us able to attend, then we'll need to relook at the calendar and see if we're just skipping October or we reschedule it, to one of the other Fridays. Okay? And as I said, I did submit the 26 dates for 2026, January through July. For consideration, and I'll add that to our agendas once I hear back from Linda that they're approved. So at this point, I neglected at the very beginning, since this is our first official meeting, but congratulations to our board liaison for continuing to be on the board. So we are grateful and appreciate the fact that you are still our liaison. We're happy to, that has transpired and you can still hang out with us for a while. Again, I'd like to thank Keith for his time on the committee. You've done a wonderful, I haven't been here the full 6 years with you, but for a good majority of it.
Time goes.
I know.
Does he automatically dress to the bonus? What the committee? Or does he have to wait a while to get that?
Oh, well, before he can come back on?
No, get his bonus.
Oh.
His bonuses, we're letting him walk out.
Right. So I'll just tell him he has to show up if I know I'm having snacks, Cause I always feel bad when Augie's a virtual and I have something here, so I have to make sure I always have something when he's here. I appreciate Bob being willing to hang tight with us a little bit.
Good on you, Bob.
Yeah. But is there
You're a better man than me.
Well, my second term technically ends in March. I'm willing to put in for the 3rd term to do one last year, so I'll have my full 6 years. But we'll reevaluate after that again, but.
Sure, I'm not gonna try to break Jim's record.
So, but, does anybody have anything else that they want to say or do before we adjourn? Good. All right, well then, just for the recording's sake, we are adjourning the meeting at 2:30 p.m. Look at that, we even finished a half an hour before, on your